Hey there, my name is AJ Pickett and I make videos about role-playing games. Lots of them. I upload twice a week with a live stream every week, and you can also find me on Subscribestar, Patreon and Discord, Facebook and Twitter. Also, there is an option to join the channel as a member, and I welcome any questions you have in the comments section down below. As always, if you like this video or this channel, hit that like button and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you would be so kind. Also, check out my Teespring shop. I've got some t-shirts and things. Finally, a creature from the Arcana of the Ancients. I've mentioned this book a few times. A 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons conversion of a bunch of bizarre creatures and items from the Numenera RPG, brought to us by the brilliant Monte Cook, Bruce Cordell and Sean Reynolds. This is science fantasy on steroids, and I absolutely love it. In the theme of Spider Week here on the channel, well, it's going to be more like a couple of weeks, I present to you a tiny but deadly construct called the Steel Spider, found on page 235 of that book. There is no more lore on this than can be found on this single page, but I am only too happy to provide some additional thoughts and inspiration of my own. You can take it or leave it as you see fit. I'll also shortly be bringing you a video on an intelligent spider species called the Kulova, found on page 158 of that book, that are actually fairly peaceful, but today it's all about the steel spiders. Steel spiders are creatures of living metal that spin incredibly thin webs also made of metal. A first-person account of an encounter with a few of these little monsters is recorded by Yavaris, the elven scholar and explorer, and she has this to say. We had a crystal orb, some device of the ancients we used to light our way. Suddenly, someone said they saw something sparkling right in front of me in the light, so I stopped dead in my tracks. And if I hadn't, I would not be telling you this right now. I would be in 3 or 4 pieces on the floor of that place. See, I reached out with my dagger to touch what it was. It looked like just a few strands of spiderweb stretched across the walkway. That's all right, except touching it with my dagger cut right into the blade a good half an inch. My trusty iron blade, ruined. That's how strong and sharp those webs really are. I turned around to tell my companion, but then he said the strand was shaking. So I turned back and I saw the spider glistening like silver in our light. It was the size of a dinner plate, moving along 2 of the thin strands right towards us. Good thing we'd found that heat cutter thing earlier. We used it like a weapon on the spider as it approached, and thankfully one blast was all it took to drive it off, and we got the hell out of there because we could see more of them were coming. As we ran, I could see the light dancing off a whole network of those deadly webs strung along everywhere. Steel spiders are constructs made by extremely skilled artificers of ancient times in lost laboratories and fallen empires. They could be found in the buried ruins of the once majestic flying cities of the Netherese, now loitering beneath the Anarok Desert, or far to the east in the broken and ancient crystal towers of the lost empire of Amaskar. Living in small nests of 3 or 4, steel spiders spin their webs in dark ruins, subterranean locales, and wilderness areas of any climate, and possibly on many different worlds, considering they are usually invented by those who have mastery of magic as well as artifice. Although they are constructed and look very much like little robots, steel spiders are largely organic. However, the webbing of the steel spiders is not sticky, it's razor sharp and can easily cut through most materials, particularly flesh. The strands are so thin that it's easy to stumble into them by accident. I don't know if I've talked much about how much I love passive perception checks in 5th edition, but this is a case where you are most likely rolling on behalf of the player character before the players will suspect a thing. Several ancient sites are crisscrossed with thin, silvery filaments. Explorers have to figure out how to get past such webs without being cut to ribbons once they discover them. If very carefully cut and stored, a steel spider's web strands can be used as deadly garrote wire or cutting tools. Every steel spider is associated with at least one area of razor web, trapping a corridor up to 10 feet across, though many spiders could increase the radius of this effect dramatically. Noticing the webs before blundering into them, even in full light, requires a successful DC 14 Wisdom Perception check. Those unfortunate enough to walk into or fall into a pit filled with the razor web take 5d6 slashing damage. Each strand of webbing has an armor class of 15 and 15 hit points, which is amazingly tough material, many times stronger than metal. Although tiny, the spiders are not to be taken lightly. They have an armor class of 8, 6d4 plus 12 hit points, or between 18 and 36 points, although I just noticed that they are listed as having 37 points in the book. Whoops. That's probably supposed to say an average of 27. I think that's a typo. They scuttle along any surface at a speed of 20 feet per round, have a remarkable strength of 15 and immunity to poison, being charmed, deafened, frightened, exhausted, or paralyzed, and they sense their surroundings by vibration, which gives them blind sight out to 60 feet, and in that range they have a passive perception of 12. Their challenge rating is listed as 2, which I think factors in that very dangerous webbing and the formidable bite attack the spiders have. They are +4 to hit one target within 5 feet, and the bite inflicts 2d6 plus 2 piercing damage, plus a steel spider's bite injects a victim with the metallic strands they make those webs from. It inflicts an additional 1d6 piercing damage each round for 3 rounds on a failed DC 14 Constitution save, as the victim's muscles and tendons are torn apart by the invasive injection. Oof. However, their organic bits were infused with this metal, or however it was actually done in the laboratories. The steel spiders are a lost technology that is hopefully, these days, very rare, and getting rarer every year as more eventually malfunction and break down, get destroyed, or run out of organic food that they keep themselves operational with. They are almost never found outside of the ruins, dungeons and lairs they infest. Being held in captivity doesn't seem to agree with them very much, and they have a knack for escaping from traps and cages. Still, if one could figure out a way to transport them safely, one could make a lot of money selling 1 or 2 of these things in an exotic market. Chances are there's 1 or 2 of them in the epic markets of Kalimshan, for instance. Most of them found will be very old, like thousands of years old, as they were made in the final years of one of the lost and magic-rich nations of Netheril or Amaska, or somehow find themselves cut off from their original world of origin, such as lurking on board a crashed spelljammer vessel. Steel spiders are not malicious, they have a neutral alignment and an intelligence no higher than 2 points. They're very hard to communicate with, though, even with empathy, as they only see other creatures as a source of organic nutrition. Fuel. One fun way to use them is place them in locations where victims have no time or opportunity to check over everything very carefully, such as when they run in fear into a totally new area away from some other horrific monster they've disturbed, or some magical effect that they've triggered and failed to overcome. A stairwell that clicks, snaps down and suddenly turns into a slippery smooth ride is also very good. It's a classic dungeon trap, and the sloping tiled floors of an opulent Netherese city which has fallen from a sky long ago and now sits beneath the sands of the desert tilted sideways where it lays is also a difficult environment where anybody may slip and fall if they fail a basic movement check and run straight into that razor wire. Such locations are rich in treasures and also quite seriously dangerous, with who knows what wandering around or lurking in hungry patience for tomb raiders and adventurers to come poking around greedily. This is the sort of thing that the steel spiders are absolutely made for. Characters might even be hunting for a living steel spider colony sent to a cave, ruin or lair on the rumours heard by some wizard, sage or master assassin who have once examined a dead specimen and found this very, very interesting filament that they are hopefully finding a potential unlimited source of that amazing razor webbing. I'll leave the specifics in your more than capable hands. Please hit the like button if you made it this far, subscribe if you like what I do, check out my Subscribestar or Patreon for links for all the full scripts for these videos, buy some Teespring merchandise, wear your geek with pride, and as always, thanks for listening, and I'll be back with more for you very soon.